Automation tools will make business processes inside the Defense Department faster and more efficient, according to business and IT leaders. Those leaders tell me they're examining the business processes themselves, too. Captain Matt Beran, U.S. Navy retired as industry lead for global defense and intelligence programs at Appian. He's former division director in the Office of the Judge Advocate General. Matt, welcome. Thank you for joining me today. We were talking a little bit before we went on the air about some terms that go along with that concept in your mind of process automation. What are those three terms, and how do they connect to what organizations in the defense sector are trying to do today as you see it? Welcome.
Yeah, great question. So we break process down into kind of three parts: process orchestration, process automation, and then process intelligence, all leading to helping the government much more effectively and efficiently get from input process to output, and driving efficiencies in the work they do every day in whatever their line of operation and whatever the mission set is. Orchestration is gathering together and getting a really deep understanding of what the mission set is, how the work is done currently. Automation, where we can apply automation, is to much more rapidly get from start to finish, and that could be a hybrid combination of increasing efficiency in human activity, but also, employing things like RPA, robotic process automation, in order to streamline and much more effectively get from start to finish. And then the final piece is process intelligence. As we go through orchestrate and automate processes, is developing a deeper understanding of what that whole system looks like, and potentially to identify maybe there are choke points in the process, or inefficiencies in the process, where we may be able to go back and re-architect for greater efficiency, and getting that deep understanding of the holistic view of that process from start to finish, and getting to greater efficiencies and in fact to process optimization through the application of intelligence, of understanding the entire ecosystem of that process. And so that's a combination of orchestration, automation, and intelligence that leads to really tremendous results.
What are the greatest opportunities that you see, particularly in the defense sector, but all across the government, in that orchestration phase? What are maybe agencies missing out on when they're doing? It sounds like that's kind of an inventory process where you just learn what you have before you decide how you're going to go about the process of automating the things that you're doing. Am I on the right track there, Matt?
You are. There are a number of different use cases and areas. A couple that I could highlight is case management is one. And case management, very broadly defined. If you have anything that has an input, a process, and an output, in a way, that's a case. And that could be an investigation. It could be a human resources investigation. It could be law enforcement activity. It could be a judicial function. It could be any number of those things. Claims management. All of those things involve a certain activity that start and end with they start with an input. They have certain activity that are result around that case, and then ultimately there's a deliverable of some kind, a report, an output. So the case management aspects in whatever line of operation or mission set, when we apply that process orchestration, automation, and intelligence to really streamline the effectiveness and lead to greater results in any context of case management, that would be one I would highlight. In the forward realm, so to speak, logistics and inventory management, the same thing, is being able to take what at times in the government practice is still paper-based and be able to digitalize it first, and then to optimize it through a greater understanding of the process to lead to greater results and much more effective results. Anything within supply chain and inventory management, requirements management of that nature, also a very effective use case for that approach.
When you were in the Navy, or now that you're in industry, what have you seen? Where have you seen agencies, organizations, maybe miss out on opportunities to do any of those three things, whether it's orchestration, automation, or intelligence? Not because they were neglectful, but where maybe they didn't have a level of awareness that they could have into the processes that they had already established, or for some other reason.
Yeah, great question. So time and time again, especially from my experience as a former customer and a former product owner of Appian and now joining the Appian team, is understanding what is the realm of the possible technologically. and defeating what at times we see in the government is just accepting the current process as the best way of doing it, accepting the status quo, and not necessarily being willing or able to confront that there may be a technological process or a technological way to get to better results. So there's maybe there is a lack of the awareness with respect to what technology can bring to bear on your day-to-day activities. There may be resistance to it. And there may be just unfortunately, there's no time or effort being applied to, improve things because you're just trying to get through your day. That we see that all over the place.
It's the fire hose problem more so than anything else. You just have to get the job done that's in front of you, and being able to parse it and break it down and understand it is less of a priority than actually meeting mission. Sounds like is the issue there.
Absolutely. And when agencies intentionally carve out time or dedicate resources to innovation and looking at potentially, digitalization or applying technology in innovative ways to get to a better result, that puts them in a position to even open up the front of that conversation rather than just being completely dedicated to grinding through the day and getting through the requirements of the day. Is if there's an opportunity to carve out time or have a team look at and dedicate thought space to ways to innovate and to improve processes and get to greater results, that's where we have an entry point to hopefully assist government.
Another item that we talked about before we went on the air, Matt, was that's on your radar screen is the challenges that agencies are having in using things over again. Somebody comes to you and asks you to do a certain thing, produce a certain solution, and then another agency or another part of that same organization goes out to you or somebody else and says, hey, we need this thing, but it already exists. What are the barriers or what are the issues that you're seeing with maybe it's just as simple as situational awareness of what all exists in order to prevent that, in order to propagate the sharing of IP across agencies and across the government as an enterprise?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'll start from my legal background as a retired Navy JAG and answer that from a legal perspective, and then move into a very pragmatic perspective on reuse and re-leveraging of government IP. First off, among many things, there's a law, the Klinger-Cohen Act, which stands for the proposition that the government should pay for IP once and not many times. You would think that that's a pretty straightforward proposition, and that is the spirit and the intent of Klinger-Cohen, but we do not see it applied effectively within the government context. And I think that there are a number of reasons why. The greatest of them, perhaps, is the lack of market research and the indexing of what exists within the government in terms of the IP that's already been created. Agencies simply do not know what other agencies are doing, and there's a lack of awareness across the board of if you are doing a particular thing, let's say there's a case management opportunity in one federal agency, they may or may not be aware of what exists within the case management IT that's out there across the entire federal landscape. And so the system benchmarking, market research, and being aware of what the rest of the totality of federal agencies have done in the past it's just not very well known. So being able to reach out and develop an understanding of what the landscape of the developed IP that already exists is a critical step. And then having industry engage the spirit and intent of Klinger-Cohen and be willing to rapidly reutilize what has already been built to like use cases. Very important. Rather than build it over and over and over, is if you have a very like use case or an agency that has a very similar function, but maybe just a little different approach or a different area of law or compliance that they're trying to pursue, is being able to lift and shift. Grab that IP, tailor it, maybe tweak it a little bit, and redeploy it, which would be far more effective use of time and resources than starting from scratch. And so that's something that we have been working very hard, is to identify opportunities to reuse and re-leverage existing IP for agencies that are doing very similar functions.
It would be really easy, I guess, to pick on industry and say, well, industry just wants to sell solutions to as many people as they possibly can. But a former federal CIO told me it's been a couple of years now, that it's partly the government's fault, too, because the government, he said, everybody thinks that they're a special snowflake and that they're just a little bit different than everybody else. And so we can't possibly use what somebody else is using. Where is the right place for that direction, I'll call it, governance, whatever, to come from, to tell folks, not only should we build maybe some kind of clearinghouse where that information resides that you just described, but then you all need to participate in it, and you all need to make us aware of what you have so that it can be shared across the organizations like you just suggested, Matt.
Yeah, another great question. And that marketplace simply doesn't exist. Industry in the process of acquisition and procurement, we are responding to RFIs and RFPs, but there is no necessarily central warehouse of all of the existing solutions, so that there's a very broad base and understanding among all the different government agencies of what is already currently available. And we highlight past successes and past solutions for our responses to inquiries and proposals, but it's in that narrow context of that particular next set of requirements. It's nothing more broad than that. It's very narrowly tailored. And you're absolutely right. There are a number of government agencies, I think, at times wrongfully believe that their set of requirements is so unique that it takes a custom build from scratch. And we've seen in several examples where that is simply not true, that a slight reconfiguration and adjustment of particular user personas, of workflows, and of dashboards and reporting requirements can lead to a much effective way of reusing and re-leveraging an existing system that just takes a little bit of time to redeploy with tremendous results.
These are just some of the topics that you're going to cover at Appian Government on October 30th. I'm very excited that it's about 15 minutes from my house at Capital One Hall in Tyson's Corner. Army, Forest Service, part of USDA, the Coast Guard will be there. What do you want people to take away from that event? What do you want government people who attend, to go back to their agencies and do differently, think differently, work differently after that event, Matt?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. So more than anything else, to have a better understanding of who Appian is, what we do, and how well we've already done it in so many different environments. I'm not sure that we're very well known for our work within the DoD, the intelligence community, and even with our global partners. So I would highlight understanding our company, where we are in the federal space, in the government space, and even abroad. And then what we do. We're a process company that delivers results and solutions for really mission critical functions. We want the hard work, and we will deliver. And then to learn more about our particular company, some of our particular capabilities and functionalities, but that our platform is very, very robust and delivers applications that solve problems for government agencies around the world.
I will look forward to seeing you there, and I will look forward to great conversations, and I'm grateful for you being on the program today, Matt. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much, Francis. Really appreciate it.
Don't miss Appian Government, October 30th at Capital One Hall in Tysons, Virginia. You can read more and register at fedgovtoday.com/events.